Hello everybody and welcome to race number 3 of the MSCA American Ethanol Truck Series. We are here at the Texas Motor Speedway and we have the field set from qualifying. Let's get right on into the starting lineups. Alexander Rowe is going to start on the pole, and to his outside is the number 37, Daniel Bouchard. Jennifer Power in the 81 starts on row 2, Russ Kamaski to her outside. Kurt Trencherman in row 3 in the number 60 truck, and on his outside is the 25 Jason Kranz. Kenny Washington, last week's winner, and Tristan Allen will make up row number 4. Row number 5, the 22 of Bill Cox, and to his outside is the 17 of Nathan Howman. Tanya Breyer in the inside of row 6, and on her outside is the 80 of Derek Yarworth. Row number 7, second place last week, Arnold von Hindenburg and Fernando Ulieza to his outside. Rick Witt in the 68. On row number 8 inside, and Al Lagasse to his outside. Isaac Nichols, row 9 inside, and to his outside is the number 53 of Eli Bright. Jacob Poole, the part-time driver for Wade Enterprises, row 10 inside, and Justin Zeidel to his outside. Bob Schwepke in the 334, row 11 inside, and Nick Pericles to his outside. Ace Garcia in row number 12, one of 2 BCR Mercedes trucks in the race, and to his outside the 64 of Steve Hickman. William Brock and Giovanni Barraza make up row number 13, and then Ryan Kendall and Fredemar Otts make up row 14, disappointing qualifying position for Ryan Kendall. Derek Hamill and Antonino Russo make up row number 15. Row 16 is going to be the 36 of Eric Monaco, and to his outside is the 696 of Alex Cage. Kieran Pangborn right behind his teammate, and to his outside is the 88 of Mitchell Henderson, and the final row is the 19 of Colin Denton and the 01 of Igor Barreto. Here are the drivers that did not start. Like I said, 2 BCR Mercedes trucks in the race, as the other 2 did not qualify. Zachary Fitzwater is surprised not to see qualify. The rest are fairly unsponsored trucks or trucks that have not made a race yet or first attempt. Alexander Rowe is going to lead them down to the stripe off of turn number 4. Green flag is out. We are underway here at Texas. Alexander Rowe leads them down into turn number 1. And this track, like we saw in qualifying, was a pretty heavy draft track, much like Texas World was. And that's mostly due to the fact that these trucks are a lot slower and require a little bit more drafting help to get the better aerodynamics. Coming down, Alexander Rowe is going to be able to hold the lead, and he will lead lap number 1. You've got to look to that inside lane as 2 BCR Mercedes trucks, the 60 of Kurt Trencherman. He finished fairly well last week, and now he's looking to make another race go in his favor. As Kenny Washington, who won last week, wants to get another win, and he's already pushing towards that lead position. Now he's going to make a move to the inside. Kenny Washington to the inside of Alexander Rowe, but he's not going to be able to get it to the line. And now Alexander Rowe is being forced back, as that high line is just not the way to go on this track. You get just sent back to the back if you stay up high. The 90 of Kenny Washington now leading the race. Bill Cox close behind him, as the 98 will get stuck up high. And like I said before, this is going to be a pretty big draft track. So we'll have to see how this thing shakes up, see if anything happens that could possibly ruin whatever drafting could go on in this race. As now Tanya Breyer in the 38 being pushed by her teammate. Seems like a lot of teammates are coming together fairly early on, as Rick Witt now dives down low. Rick Witt in the 68 diving below Tanya Breyer. Tanya Breyer had a pretty good race at Bristol in the Copperhead Amateur Series, finishing 7th in that race, now coming here to Texas hoping to get another good finish, but it looks like she's going to end up having to fall back a little bit. And a few laps later, caution coming out, Kenny Washington into the wall, and this was about 30 laps, or a little bit less than 30 laps, about 25 laps from that last moment that we cut to, and Kenny Washington hard into the wall. Derek Hamill, from the outside view, it looked like a pretty violent whip from inside to outside, but didn't actually look that bad from the roof camera, as Nathan Hellman takes it to the lead, and he will lead the and he will lead them back to the green flag under caution. I don't believe they went for pit stops. If they did, then they didn't really change much up at the front, as Nathan Howman leading him down into turn number 1. You could already tell that the 90 truck might be a pretty big roadblock, considering the fact that he is just not accelerating at all down the straightaway like the rest of the field is. Now the 6 car of Nick Pericles will dive down to the inside. His teammate Alexander Rowe, the only other Farfham Motorsports car that's in this race, not able to follow him down there, as the 17 truck of Nathan Hellman continues to lead. And we said that the 36, I believe I said that the 36 has not had very good qualifying runs. Well, it hasn't really affected him here, as he is currently now fighting for that 3rd place spot. Currently, Eric Monaco, one of the best drivers that we've seen in the Copperhead Amateur Series so far this season. Last season even, he was a fairly decent contender for wins every single week. But even in this series now, he may not have the same equipment as he would at RVR. As you can see, that Nick Pericles, one of the drivers who was at Red Viper Racing in the Pennzoil Pro Series very early on in the series life, now going to the lead. But Eric Monaco, in some very good equipment in that series, has already won, I believe, 2 races. If not, he has at least won a single race so far. So Eric Monaco, absolutely someone that people will be looking at to do very well in this series. Another driver who we're looking at to do very well is that blue car, that blue truck in 3rd right now. That is Colin Denton, and he is one of the few unsponsored trucks that has made every single race so far. The other 2 have been Frodemar Otts and I believe Giovanni Barraza are the only other 2 unsponsored rides that have actually made each race, and most of that is due to them being able to, or at least in Otts' case, qualifying, not having to qualify into each race. However, he is mired at the back, and you can see also Kieran Pangborn, another driver I will believe is in trouble of falling below that cut line. And the 26th position is really where you want to stay above in points, or else if you fall below that, you're not going to be able to just automatically become or automatically be a part of each race. However, you can see the 36 looking to the lead now, as his teammate in the 24, Kieran Pangborn. Oh, the 90 car, I told you he was probably going to be a roadblock. That looked like it was a really good run on that inside lane, but the outside didn't have to deal with that 90 truck, and that is going to spread out the lead pack a lot. And it looks like Daniel Bouchard in the 37 took a lot of that, took a lot of good out of that, as he is now leading this race. The 28 of Arnold van Hindenburg sitting right behind him. Arnold van Hindenburg finished 2nd last week. Now he's looking to maybe get a win here, although we are on lap 43 out of 134 laps, so we still have a long ways to go for this before this race is even anywhere near over. 37 of Daniel Bouchard continuing to lead the race, and his truck has seemed to be very strong all day. Considering that he qualified in 2nd, he has had a fast truck pretty much all weekend, and it would be really a shame to see him not win this race, because he has done a heck of a lot with that truck already this season. He had to go through the wreck at Texas and Texas World, which set him back a little bit, but he's able to bounce back now from what it seems. But we haven't really seen a whole lot of him compared to his teammates, Jason Kranz and Nathan Howman, who arguably are would probably be considered much better than him due to the fact that they are veteran drivers of this series and have run for this team for I don't know how long. Another driver who was actually part of the Dorellis Motorsports roster was the 22. The driver of the 22, Bill Cox, was a part of this roster. That was very early on in this team's life, but then Bill Cox got picked up by another team. Another driver who was part of that team, Greg Shivers, ended up moving up to the Casey's Cup Series, or moving over to the Casey's Cup Series. And a couple of the other drivers, I believe Ernest Crispin was also one of the drivers for that team, ended up moving over to the Casey's Cup Series, and then their last driver ended up dropping from the series from the MSCA entirely. So that team, the team of the 22 truck of Bill Cox, has been a little bit in limbo as he's teamed up with Steve Hickman for the last couple years. And it's been a decent ride for those two, but they have just not had the speed that a lot of these drivers, arguably the team of the 37, Dorellis Motorsports, has definitely had a lot of speed. As we can see, the 90 truck, within a few laps, the 4-car of Russ Kamaski clips the 90, and that almost put the 90 back into the wall. That probably would have ended the 90's race for sure, as Kenny Washington acting as a really big roadblock for these guys. Arnold von Hindenburg, though, will take that opportunity, and he will take the lead. But we're going to skip away from that lead race for a second to talk about one of the drivers whom we've actually had a lot of... another driver whom we've hoped would have a lot of success in this series, but just hasn't had it. The 98 of Tristan Allen has had a really, really tough first two races, being wrecked out in that first crash at Texas World. And Texas World did a number on a lot of trucks, which really did shake up the standings, and it's similar to what happened in the Pennzoil Pro Series, where a lot of good drivers got wrecked out early on in the Daytona race. But Tristan Allen, he's probably a pretty ecstatic driver so far, because as far as team owning goes in the Pennzoil Pro Series, his driver Ash Hussain ended up winning at Bristol, not in the last Pennzoil Pro Series race. So Tristan Allen definitely happy about that. His team is actually doing very well, and right now he is sitting at a fairly good position, and it's basically what Tristan Allen is looking for now today, is to get a decent finish, get himself a little bit higher up into the points standing, so that way he can start competing for maybe the points championship. Another driver who's also trying to do that, or at least is doing that, is the 88 of Mitchell Henderson, but he has had an uphill battle, being stuck at the back for a decent amount of this race. Another driver who's also kind of faced an uphill battle is the 23 of Ryan Kendall, as again another driver who had pretty crappy luck that first race and has not really rebounded since. Other drivers who are in this pack, though, Kirk Trencherman, a decent finish at Mexico City, didn't actually qualify for the first event at Texas World, and Jason Kranz, I believe, also wrecked out at Texas World. So a lot of drivers whom we're seeing at the front ended up getting wrecked out at Texas World. Another driver whom we're seeing right now, the 696 of Alex Cage, a pretty big surprise coming from that 696 truck. That's the same team as the 59 of Eddie Jones, the team owner, and so that truck is being swapped between the drivers, and already I can see that he has a lot of potential as a driver, being just a part-timer, and he's running with these guys up at the front of the pack. So that's got to tell you a lot of things about this driver. However, this is towards the middle of the field, since this pack isn't really since this is a pretty big pack, and the leaders have about the top 10, and so another decent pack of cars. And this series can get a little bit, I guess, what you can call, certain things can be a little bit deceiving as far as positioning can go. We were talking about Eric Monaco earlier, and we're back to him again. As you can see, he's running with his teammate Kieran Pangborn right now. Both of them started at the very back of the field in rows 16 and 17, both on the inside. And this is how they've pretty much been the entire race. As you can see, Pangborn going to the bottom side, trying to make a pass on the 36 of Eric Monaco. I believe this is for around 14th or 15th position. And Colin Denton's going to actually follow the 24 to the inside. But these two drivers have had a little bit of bad luck lately. I don't believe Eric Monaco was wrecked out at the end of Texas World. I believe he was one of those lapped cars, 1 or 2 laps down, trying to fight for position around 10th or so. So he had at least one good race to go about it. I don't believe Karen Pangborn actually did finish that race, and I don't believe Colin Denton actually finished that race either. So definitely two drivers who are expecting a little bit more out of themselves due to just not being able to finish at Texas World. And again, Texas World is a bit of a crapshoot race. Considering it's the first race of the season, you don't really know. There's a lot of newcomers. There was especially a lot of newcomers to this series, as the rookie field is definitely a lot bigger than we'd expected. The currently highest running rookie and the current best contender for Rookie of the Year is the Ford truck of Russ Kamaski, who won the first race. So when you have a decent field of rookies like this, it's kind of hard to gauge whether or not you're going to have a decent field of trucks or not, and who's actually going to rise above each other. But when you have drivers like Eric Monaco, who have already proved themselves in a series above, and you're trying to see whether they can do the same in the series below, it's a little bit of a different story, especially since Eric Monaco has shown that he does have the talent in the Copperhead Amateur Series, and he's basically what Jack Porkins was last season. However, Jack Porkins, a little bit of a disappointment for him, but he is running his own truck that he bought himself, so that's a little bit of a gimme there for Porkins, especially since Colin Denton is doing the same thing. However, Colin Denton is a Copperhead Amateur Series driver as well. Hasn't shown much in the Copperhead Amateur Series, but currently showing a lot more in this series, and it's kind of a mystery to see why Colin Denton, especially in unsponsored equipment, is doing much better than with DW Motorsports at the Copperhead Amateur Series. And it could be a multitude of factors, but it's just a little bit confusing to some people to see that. As we continue to watch Eric Monaco tick down on the laps, the 3-car of Al Lagasse trying to make it by him on the inside, and that's another driver whom we've seen. Revolution Racing is definitely one of those teams whom is a very big contender, just from watching the first 2 races, as Al Lagasse and his teammate Mitchell Henderson haven't won a race yet, but they have finished well within the top 10 of both of their races. However, Al Lagasse was knocked out at Texas World like a lot of these drivers were. So that's another thing to consider, is that a lot of these drivers never really got to prove themselves in that first event. And we're going to Daniel Bouchard on lap number 99. You're going to see green flag pit stops now, as there has not been a single caution since that incident with the 90 truck. So Daniel Bouchard in the 37 truck making a pit stop, and his teammates in the 17 and 25, Jason Kranz, are going to follow, as well as Derek Yarworth in that 80 truck. And Daniel Bouchard is going to come back out up in the front of the field. Rick Witt, you can see towing behind him, and it looks like maybe he's not going to be coming out in the front of the field. But Rick Witt, another driver who is a veteran, haven't seen a whole lot out of him in these first 2 races. We've seen a little bit of how he's been running, especially at Texas World, being able to keep up with the leaders, although he did end up going a lap down at some point towards the end of the race. He hasn't had a very bad season. He didn't qualify well at Mexico City, and a track that's notorious for just not being very good for passing can really screw you over, especially on that track. As you can see, Rick Witt currently scored in the 9th position, and he's had a fairly okay season from what I can see so far. But as soon as we hit Iowa Speedway, you're going to see a little bit different form of Rick Witt than we've actually seen so far. That was the first track that he won last year, and the only track that he won at last year. Another driver of the 60 of Kurt Trencherman, currently your leader. This is his 2nd race, not actually not his 3rd race. So obviously a little bit of an interesting story for Kurt Trencherman, as he never actually was able to qualify for Texas World. So again, a lot of these drivers not having very good races at Texas World, but after losing the draft because he was so far out in front, his teammate Jacob Poole, with some help from the 17 and the 26, were able to catch right back up to him, and that was a pretty big catch-up. We can see another driver, Eli Bright. We haven't seen a whole lot of him. So far, we've seen Alex Cage and his team owner, Edain Jones. But Eli Bright currently not doing too bad. I believe he's fighting for second place with Kurt Trencherman right now, as the 17 of Nathan Howman leads this race. And Nathan Howman obviously wasn't looking forward to this race as much as he's looking forward to next week's event, to the next event, which is Circuit of the Americas, a track that he won at last year, albeit to a very controversial tone. But it's another track that he is really fond of, and Dorellis Motorsports is really hoping that they can do well at that track. You can see the 90 truck again making himself known to the rest of the field, and the radio chatter regarding the 90 truck of Kenny Washington has not been kind. There's been a lot of threats to just take him out of the race in one of the corners, and a lot of people are just not happy that the MSCA is still letting him continue to run. And this has really shook up the field. Tanya Breyer not actually in third. She is a lap down at the moment. So she is another driver that has gone a lap down. And there seems to be a lot of drivers a lap down. I believe at least half the field at this point has gone at least one lap down, if not a few less. However, the six truck of Nick Pericles now falling to the 37 of Daniel Bouchard. And we're going to cut away, a few laps left to go in the race, and there was an incident. The 6 truck did actually get knocked out of the race. The engine failed on that truck a few laps before this, and so Nick Pericles ends up going out early with, I believe, a header on that truck, or a camshaft going out. Another driver that has gone out earlier, very early in the race, was the 54 truck of Fernando Olieza, also having engine problems. But now we have the 3 leaders fighting for position, as Kenny Washington's not going to play as much havoc as we expected them to. And now the 37 of Daniel Bouchard to the inside. It's a battle between teammates. Derek Hamill looked like he was gonna drift up in front of the 17. I believe that Nathan Howman thought he was gonna do that too, so he played it safe. He didn't want to get his truck wrecked, and now he has fallen back behind the 4 truck of Russ Kamosky, who is a lap down. Antonino Russo currently sitting on the back bumper of the 37 truck, looking for the right time to do what he wants to do, as 2 rookies battling their way to a victory here in the MSCA American Ethanol Truck Series. Green flag is out, 2 laps left in the race. Antonino Russo in the 26. Malley Motorsports really looking for a win. As you can see, the 696 of Alex Cage could play into this battle for the lead, as the 37 of Daniel Bouchard coming down to the white flag, and the 26 trying to make a move to the outside. That is going to bite him hard, as the 4 of Russ Kamosky is going to move below him. Russ Kamosky is going to make a move to the bottom of the 26 truck, and that is going to be devastating for Antonino Russo, as Daniel Bouchard in the 37, no competition at the end, is going to win his first race and win race number 3 of the MSCA American Ethanol Truck Series. And that was shaping up to be a really interesting finish, but it ended up being ruined. A few mistakes made by Russo. As you can see, Daniel Bouchard making his burnouts there on the small oval there. Daniel Bouchard will join the two Wade Enterprises drivers, Antonino Russo, a devastating second place, and Dorellis Motorsports really strong this race as 1, 3, and 4 is their positioning. Derek Yarworth in 5th, a good job from the veteran. Eric Monaco, a nice 6th place finish. That's really what he wanted to see. Jennifer Power, again, a very glum team owner, but Jennifer Power coming home with 7th. That's got to feel good for the team owner there. Alexander Rowe going from the pole to 9th. Justin Zeidel, another good finish. Kurt Trencherman falls down to 11th. Rick Witt finishes in 12th. Ryan Kendall 13th, 14th Mitchell Henderson, 15th Ace Garcia, and Tristan Allen, a driver who we were talking to, was kind of teetering around that position, and the last two drivers are a lap down all the way to 33rd and 35th. Kenny Washington, a bit of an interesting thing there. Nick Pericles went out a few too many laps before Kenny Washington was even able to get by him on the scoring chart, so Kenny Washington finishes behind Nick Pericles as far as official scoring is concerned. Tanya Breyer 21st. Colin Denton, kind of an interesting position that I find him in, as he was doing really well and then ended up falling back to 23rd, a lap down. Kieran Pangborn, another driver who kind of fell off the pace a little bit. A very disappointing day for William Brock Motorsports, as 27th, 29th, and 33rd, as they all ended up going a lap down. Bob Schlepka and Frodemar Otts also having pretty disappointing days in 31st and 32nd, as well as Isaac Nichols in probably the worst performing truck for that team. Russ Kamaski is going to keep the points lead with 133 points over his teammate Kenny Washington, who actually did take the points lead last race, so they pretty much flip-flopped. And Daniel Bouchard, that win, it gets him up there, but it doesn't get him into first or second, and so a lot of drivers are still fighting to get back up the leaderboard. Antonino Russo, 2 really good finishes in a row are going to get him fairly well up the board. Arnold von Hindenburg up to 11th. Eric Monaco in 12th in points. Both of them are tied. Justin Zeidel and Nick Pericles are both tied for 13th as well. Jennifer Power, the highest running BCR Mercedes truck, in 15th. Eli Bright is also fairly up there, and Rick Witt, a disappointing 20th position so far. Al Lagasse in 18th with 60 points. As you can see, we actually do have that red cut line, and that is where you want to be above if you want to make every single race. Alex Cage moving himself back above the cut line as a part-time driver, and Jacob Poole still staying above that line with 38 points. Alex Cage above Frodemar Otts as Frodemar Otts gets pushed out. Ace Garcia is still going to have to qualify, as well as Fernando Olieza and Tanya Breyer are still going to have to qualify. And the rest of these drivers, a lot of rear position finishes. Zachary Fitzwater missing that race will really hurt him, as he's going to have to qualify for Circuit of the Americas. Giovanni Barraza, another unsponsored ride, hoping he can get another good qualifying effort in, as well as Isaac Nichols. So a few of these drivers definitely looking for some good qualifying runs, but that is going to do it for race number 3 here at Texas. I will see you guys at Circuit of the Americas for the next race. See you guys later.